Hey, this is Ryan of Happy Healthy Vegan. So it's been a few years since I've mentioned Doug Graham's name on this channel, the author of the 80-10-10 diet. And it's also been a couple years since I've last done an episode of Raw Food Exposed, where I fact check some of the more outrageous claims made by raw food leaders. And speaking of which, Doug Graham just released a video about how starches, if you eat starches, they're the worst food as far as gaining weight goes. So we'll take a look at that. First of all, let's see what he has to say about weight gain and eating fruit.
Sweets are so satiating that it's hard to eat a lot of them. They satisfy us. They result in an almost instantaneous rise in blood sugar that sends a message to our brain, which then tells us that we're satisfied. Vegetables are mostly water. That's why it's so easy to make vegetable juice. And it's almost impossible to overeat on water. I mean, vegetables are really tough as a food to overeat on.
And in case you're not noticing the pattern, Doug seems to be quite concerned about overeating on foods. Not sure why that's such a big deal for him, but I'll agree with him here. Yeah, vegetables, really tough to become obese eating vegetables because of their low caloric density.
When we eat protein foods, whether it's nuts and seeds, or if you're still eating animal fare.
Wow, he's going to group plant proteins and animal proteins in the same category? Let's see where he goes with this.
It's tough to overeat on highly fatty, highly proteinaceous foods.
In case you're wondering, proteinaceous is indeed a real word. But back to the main point here. He's saying it's not animal products that are high in fat and protein that cause people to overeat and therefore gain weight. It must be some other food. What might this be?
The one food that's easy to overeat on is starchy food. Starchy foods don't give us an instantaneous rise in blood sugar.
So what Doug's referring to here is glycemic index. Unlike fruits, which he loves, which are high GI foods, he's saying that starches, on the other hand, are low GI foods. Well, this is really easy to fact check using one of a number of databases online. The glycemic index measures the extent to which a food raises your blood glucose levels. 0 on the low end, 100 on the high end. So let's compare some starches and measure their GIs compared to fruits. So let's start off with sweet potatoes, GI index of 44, and boiled potatoes, GI of 49. Well, let's look at some fruits now. According to Doug, fruit should be like way higher than that. My favorite fruit, which I eat a bunch of every day, bananas, GI of 47, right in between the two starches there. And mangoes, I have them all the time too, GI of 51. So basically, Doug is wrong here. The GIs of these very popular common starches and fruits are essentially the same. Let's see what else he gets wrong about starches.
They're fairly dense in calories.
Like that's necessarily a bad thing. I remember when I experimented with fully raw many years back, my biggest single most problem was not being able to get enough calories. So having some calorically dense food, which I later did once I stopped being fully raw, was actually a good thing. But let's see if he's even right here. Again, let's compare these popular starches with popular fruits. A cup of sweet potatoes is almost 200 calories, while a cup of regular potatoes is 200 calories. All right, so let's see how these starches compare calorie-wise to a cup of fruit, like let's say bananas once again, which is exactly the same, 200 calories per cup. A cup of mangoes, 137 calories. And if you want to look at some high-fat fruits like avocados, that's nearly double, over 380 calories per cup. But in general, Doug is generally correct here that the starches are a bit more calorically dense than most fruits are. But is this the bad thing? Is there any particular reason why we would overeat on starches?
They're not particularly satiating. They leave us wanting more because they have a numbing effect.
A numbing effect? Are you serious there? I mean, is this some kind of known scientific fact about starches, or is this another bit of raw food dogma that you use to control people, to make them fearful of eating starches?
And so you just keep eating and you're not able to feel how much you've actually consumed.
So according to Doug Graham, starches have this unique property of when you eat them, you don't really feel all that full. Again, is this some kind of scientific fact or just, again, raw dogma? I mean, just eat like 2 big russet potatoes. You will feel full. If not, there's something wrong with you.
When it comes to overeating, starches take the cake.
So let's do a little fact checking here to see if Doug Graham is right. His belief is that those who eat the most starches shall be the most overweight, at least more overweight than your average person who eats a lot of fat from animal products or fruit. Anyway, it's hard to find a culture that eats more starches than the traditional Okinawan diet from Japan. About 70% of their calories comes just from sweet potatoes, a starch. Yet, these are some of the most longest lived people on the planet, and they are far from being overweight, let alone obese. And zooming down from a culture to a single person, there's our friend Spudfit, who spent an entire year eating nothing but potatoes, a starch, and toppings, and he lost a ton of weight doing that, and he didn't do any kind of calorie restriction or fasting or anything of the sort. He just ate a bunch of starches. I suspect that Doug's fear of starches rests on a misunderstanding of science and history. He believes that the earliest humans were fruitarian, ate nothing but fruit, maybe some bark and stuff like that, and starches were something that later humans did. Well, this is just not what the archaeological evidence shows. Humans have been eating starches for literally millions of years.
When you look back through history, and you can go back 2.5 million years, and you see that the bulk of human beings have lived on starch-based diets. We have evidence from 44,000 years ago that said that the Neanderthals lived on starches.
So that was Dr. John McDougall, author of The Starch Solution, and I highly recommend any fully raw person, fruitarian, and that includes you too, Doug Graham, to actually go and read through this book. It has hundreds of scientific references in the back, backing up his claims about how starches don't make you fat, how starches have been part of the human diet for thousands and even millions of years. And I've read Doug's book, Grain Damage. And unlike John's book here, Graham's book has absolutely zero references. No references to any science, studies, nada. So I'll just kind of leave that there. I want to make it painfully clear, I'm not trying to debunk eating fruit and say that you should only eat starch instead. I mean, followers of our show know that I begin each morning with a large smoothie comprised of at least 9 bananas and other fruits in there. But however great bananas are, they don't have everything that we need to be healthy. If you look at the nutrition facts for bananas, they're very low in vitamin A and they don't have much iron or calcium. However, if you add some sweet potatoes to your diet, look at that. Killing it on vitamin A. And again, a lot more iron and calcium than bananas offer. So what I'm saying is, why restrict yourself? Why limit the bountiful fruits and vegetables and starches that nature has provided down to just raw ones when you can have both? There's absolutely no reason to restrict yourself like that. I've found eating fully raw doesn't give you any extra health benefits than eating a whole food, plant-based diet like I do, which is very rich in fruits, vegetables, and starches. So anyway, leave your questions and comments down below. What do you think about eating fully raw? Do you have any valid scientific evidence to provide me that those who eat a fully raw diet have some special extra benefits? And also let me know if you want to see more of this series of Raw Food Exposed. So until next time, guys, keep it carb, baby. Keep it carb. Lots of starches and fruits. And I'd like to give some big shout outs to our latest supporters on Patreon. This month we got Jerry, Tori, John, and Kim. Thanks so much, guys, for helping us be able to do what we do here at Happy Healthy Vegan. We have all sorts of cool rewards up there, including being able to view my past live streams, which I usually don't leave up on our YouTube channel. They're there just for our supporters. So thanks so much, and I'll leave a link down to Patreon. Thank you.